Okay. Now I just need to move a couple things around and excellent.
Muy bien. Yeah, there's some pretty cool prize support too, it looked like. It's a full uncut sheet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and
Oh man, that's sick. I I kind of love those. Heck yeah.
yeah, those are cool.
Zaya just has an orb for a head. Very
Yeah.
neat. Nice. Man, the art in this game is so good. I love it. Like that art.
Oh,
Oh,
damn. That's
they did such a good job with that. And
yeah.
like the playmat is like centered just right so that when they're opposite each other, they kind of line up. It almost like looks like that was done with intent.
Yep, and then we get the
Some cool foils. Very nice.
yeah. So, hello everybody. Welcome. We're here to do some Netrunner talking. We've got
Netrunner. We just had the premier event of the year happen.
yep. And like I'm super excited about the fact that we had okay. So we had Worlds this year was physical. The last 2 years it had not been. It had been online. This year it was physical. It was in Toronto.
Back in meat space, baby.
Uh huh. But it
It was
had
it, it was awesome. I mean, I
the
from what I saw, it seemed like people were having a ton of fun.
the thing that
The
the thing
the
that's
games were great.
incredible to me is that this is a paper event that involved heavy travel that had 158 participants.
Yeah.
Like, because I think Magnum Up was capped, right? It was
Oh
like
boy, I guess I don't. Yeah, it was like 250 plus, I
it
think.
was like 250 ish. I remember, but like it's great to see that I was worried the turnout would not be
I mean,
as big, but
to be fair though, there was a lot of years where people complained about it being in Roseville, Minnesota, which is like admittedly not the easiest place to get to, especially in like November when it's already cold.
because
But
the fact that they like here, this is October, Toronto. For one, Toronto is like a much larger city.
yeah, it's a metropolitan city for sure.
Whereas Minneapolis, St. Paul is big, but Roseville's like a suburb,
Mhm.
and it's like meaningfully a suburb. Like you gotta go like a ways northeast.
Yeah,
It's still within the bubble of 494.
the greater
Oh,
city area, but
is that a Netrunner? Oh, this is Paladin Puemu, right? This is
yeah,
so if you're not Fruit Salad Kung Fu, if you're not familiar with, well, we're going to be talking about Hoshiko, so you may want to that's an ident we may want to be familiar with. If I go to Anarch and I go to Hoshiko here, um, Hoshiko has these pets. These are the
yeah, they're
companions.
virtual companions.
Yep. Paladin Puemu is the one that gets played the most because it's just Puemu gets $1 and you can
It's
spend
the
that.
best one, really. I
Well,
mean,
this is for installation. The one for events can also be like it's like I think it's events and then like during runs. Is that the
this is the only one that has like I view it as kind of a more lax like punish condition where like you're not forced to trash this card, you can just trash any card.
yeah? So
Um
the host to you get one credit and then we've got uh
and it's
I love
already like encouraging you to install cards. So like
so
even if I don't know, they're all pretty much
true.
relatively the
This is
same.
trash a card from your grip and randoms all where this one. So
Yeah.
maybe here is events and then
There's four, but only three see play. The
mm,
other one is the
so nobody ever
Trickster
plays.
Taka.
Nobody ever plays.
Keiko used to get play a lot, but then Boat came out and showed us what a real console looks like. Can't even ride your console to work.
Downfall.
Pathetic.
Trickster Taka.
Taka, yeah.
There.
Ooh, and Taka also has some additional use in being stealth, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Paladin Playmove is one of the two playmats.
Yeah, that was I think just the world champion mat, and then there was the top 16.
Yeah.
Which honestly, not as thrilled about the art on Paladin Playmove, but the art's not really why you want that mat. It's because you're the only one in the world that gets to have it.
That's why I have my Vulcan cover up mat.
Exactly.
No,
Which and that one has pretty decent art.
Right. The art on that's good. Nobody in the history of games ever does anyone even know
Yeah, I
what
don't think it's ever been played.
Nobody
in
anybody
any...
actually remember what
It was like
was it 3-1?
Take Two Bad Pub or something. There was a 2 in the text, and then there was some other text. I can't remember. It probably had to do with Bad Pub. As far as you even have the name still, I totally forgot that.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 meat damage. There it is. That's the 2.
And you take a pub if it's stolen.
You take a bad pub.
You take
All right,
I
was like 50% on. That was like pretty close.
You take a bad pub if your 3-1 gets stolen.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's where.
And that was long before we had Outfit, where that actually got you paid.
But yeah, so taking a look at Worlds. So Worlds was not last weekend, but the previous. We had 158 players. It cut to top 16. There was coverage of this on Null Signal Netrunner, which is what Nisa had changed their name over to. It was Null Signal. There were the coverage. Like it's fairly simple. We just have the top down. I really like the commentary over things though. That was
fantastic commentary.
I feel like it might have benefited from some way of being able to like pop up and show like a specific card text at certain times, but that's just from
certainly. I mean, yeah, there were a couple issues.
But like,
there was like maybe one alt art that they couldn't spot right away, and we're just kind of like, that's a card.
Yeah, that comes up with alt arts as much as.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing that happens, and it kind of makes you wonder like how Magic deals with it, because it seems like they've had kind of an explosion of like alt art cards.
It sucks. It makes it a lot harder to spot a card.
I guess I would assume it like high level play. They require you to play like certain versions. No, okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, that's solved by what paper high level play.
all right, yeah, that's one way to solve the problem.
At this point, GPs don't exist. I think they moved a lot of things online.
Yeah,
but so one thing I was really excited looking at this event for, I was a little worried at what our balance was going to be, as far as faction ident and stuff. And
so going into the event, they made some changes to the ban list, and I think there was maybe a little bit of doubt as to how effective it would be at mitigating the boat in the room.
We bopped Rizeki, we bopped Pad Tap, so that there's a lot less recurring endless money.
And to be honest, like I think it actually really helped. I was really pleased with both the variety in like factions and also in like playstyles too.
Yeah, so you can see here, if we take a quick look at our faction statistics, we do have in both sides a winner as far as the most played. By it's not like, wow, this is the best deck in the room by a mile, and especially not because like neither of them are the deck that won. But like
it is still like more than twice as popular as the next most popular deck. So like there's obviously something going on with those two. I guess idents.
Sports metal was the go-to. Hoshiko was the go-to, and then we have a lot of like different shaper ideas that kind of round out this pie slice. But if we take a look at faction split, here's what we end up with a faction split. So we end up Anarch actually ends up with the biggest buy slice thanks to Freedom actually coming in with a pretty hefty amount for
Yeah.
those not. We have. I don't think we've shown off Freedom, so I should probably just pull up.
Yeah, Freedom is kind of an interesting ident.
So
Like, and in the decks that he's played in, at least modernly, it seems like not really going all in on the viruses, kind of using it more as a sort of free bonus that comes with the ident.
So yeah, so the freedom here is on access or during access, you can spend any number of virus counters to trash equal to res or play cost. Like so,
Hmm.
so the top left number. This lets you imp things, and you're able to hit zeros for uh for
For free,
for
once
free.
per turn.
It's right here.
Yep.
So that can be really nice. There's a lot of very strong zeros that still see play. And it can, but as we'll take a look at with some of the deck lists, what you were mentioning, um, but it makes Freedom more of a not specifically an Edward-ish threat, but a more offensive threat than Hoshiko, where Hoshiko's threat is that Hoshiko is getting resources gains for self because
Hmm.
with Hoshiko, okay, you know what? I actually do think I want a Jinteki net open because this is just the easiest way for me to search a card if I want to.
Yeah, I always use Netrunner DB for that, but
Well, for here I can just go
and it just pops up.
like
Yeah, totally.
this is just quicker for me to be able to show
Yep.
off, and
Plus, you also get both sides of the card,
also
which is
with Hoshiko, it's actually weird because it's hard to get the backside of
yep.
Hoshiko. So yeah, Hoshiko is our top ident. Hoshiko is if you access at least one card at turn end, gain 2 and flip, and then Hoshiko on flip side, where she's in magical girl form.
Yep.
Uh,
Gains a link, gains digital as well,
yep,
which is important.
those both matter. Draw one, lose one. Actually, I guess the link isn't important if digital exists, but the point's same.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then if you didn't access any cards, go back to Hoshiko front.
Yep. And there's some kind of interesting interactions with that. Like for example, Stargate does not access cards, or at least it replaces your access. So
Correct.
you end up not accessing any cards.
And
So you can still make a Stargate run and flip back to your front
also,
side.
if you have no money, you don't lose anything. Obviously, having no money has its own problems, but say you're sitting on like a if you're sitting on like a fermenter with 3 or 4 counters, you can do that for one turn where you can avoid the drawback
Yep.
of like okay, I don't lose the buck. I go ahead and take my fermenter 8 and then move
Knowing
on.
you could find a way to do that like 3 out of every 10 turns, like
Yeah, I'd
just
find out.
constantly.
And then on the other side of the table, we'll talk about we have talked about this one a lot. This one's been one we've shown off more.
Sports.
But yeah, so with Hoshiko, I love Hoshiko because Hoshiko is a criminal in an anarch hat.
Yes.
The playstyle of always be accessing. But sports here, sports metal has been kind of the go-to uh, HB ident for a while. Uh, PD at least is as we can see in our pie slice, like it's not like it's still here. And
Mhm.
for the most part, with an exception, which we'll talk about when we get to deck lists, the decks are very different. A PD deck is playing a longer game, a slower, like I'm going to sit behind Anoetic Void, like
Yeah, looking to defend a remote more, really.
whereas sports metal is like go 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 go. So,
Yep.
um, so people on Asa.
Can't stop, won't stop.
So, but yeah, on the faction split, Anarch and HP on the top. We hit the NBN. It's funny, NBN has a pretty small pie slice, but like because of these multiple different idents coming together, and we actually have a pretty
Yeah, it's
good.
almost like NBN has the long tail going for it. Like there's
Where
just more playable idents, probably.
yeah, because like you have as Mari, you've got Reality Plus, you've got
Acme,
Protovost, you've got
um,
CTM
Providivos,
still,
CTM still. Yeah, 4 decks.
and even people on that's 5 here. So, so Whereas like Wayland is like, here's super heavy and here's the outfit and like somebody's on built to last, I suppose.
Yep.
um, Criminal is as expected and kind of as we feared. Criminal did not like improve from the removal of boat and the changes in the card pool. So Criminal is a pretty small. You
I
know,
mean, 419 being the most represented ident, I think is significant.
8 to 10 is a small.
Yeah, but you could think of that as 10 criminals that showed up that otherwise wouldn't have.
True,
That's maybe not necessarily true,
but
but
even
that's
there,
one way
like
to look at it.
even when their pie slice is 1/3 of, they're quite.
Oh, for sure. They're certainly not like,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh
they're
my
not
god, oh my god.
showing. Oh yeah, did you hear the story about that?
No, I didn't.
During stream, there was a moment where like someone shouted something and then everyone started clapping, and then like a minute later, the like casters were like, so basically what happened was someone yelled Apex won a game, and then the whole room got up to clap. uh,
Damn. Yeah,
uh,
one person, so
one Asa.
one
And
can.
one Ken. Ooh, someone had to represent Ken.
Yeah, I saw the list listed as the best Ken at
One
Worlds.
Tao. Wow, that's kind of surprising actually.
That Apex player was Albert Einstein. Who are other
Uh,
ones? Somebody on Building a Better World and Builder of Nations and Restoring Humanity.
Restoring humanity, man.
Okay, but yeah, but now if we go ahead and take a look at the cut, that's where things get much more interesting to me. Take a look at these pie slices.
Yeah,
Because
Freedom just like eating his way through the Swiss.
I also love seeing, like we saw in as we saw in all this crim slice is tiny. They're on par
Yep.
with the shaper slot.
Yeah.
So we also have all four factions. This is not guaranteed. There are a lot of times in the game where, like, just Wayland doesn't exist, or Jinteki didn't exist, or Anarch didn't exist.
Wayland almost didn't exist, but they managed to squeak in.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And so, yeah, if we take a look at the faction split, we get this here.
Yeah, so basically even between NBN and HB, which I think we kind of saw going into the Continentals
Yeah.
this year. Jinteki, I feel like actually showed up and did very well at this event.
There was a lot. So
kind of an upset almost.
I know on the release of the set, there was a lot of, on the release of Midnight Sun, there was a lot of chatter about like people just not believing that PE Jinteki was real.
There were 2 in the top cut. That's
And
like
there's
astounding.
And there's 2 in the top cut, and like I watched, watching their games, the loss the P player takes in cut is somewhere in here.
Is on stream, yeah.
It's on stream. What that loss is runner running HQ. HQ is snare, obakata, obakata.
Yep.
And touching the obakata wins the game. Touching the snare
loses the game.
Doesn't flat lose because like they have enough cards to steal the obakata. They're going to be able to take the snare.
Okay.
But
yeah.
like taking the snare might actually be enough to open up the the game for the Jinteki player. But so we get the age old 50-50 on that. That's just
there was at least one run that game I think where hitting the snare would have killed the runner. But yeah, pretty cool to see. I honestly wish we could have seen more of that deck.
And then Egg Infusion we'll talk about when we get to the lists. But Egg Infusion is a very powerful ident that gives Jinteki a really cool control game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. So Jinteki briefly stepped away. Well, there was an Apex player. If I go to all, I go to IDs.
And you zoom in. You got to get your microscope out.
One Apex player. Nobody on Sunny. Sadly, nobody's on Sunny because Link doesn't mean anything, which sucks. But, and also, Sunny got scooped. Sunny used to be the one with the console that was really good at bypassing ice. And
Yeah, that's true.
now the boats are out. Like, look, Security Nexus was a splashed card. Like,
Yep.
that was a real thing. If you had money, you could just fight your way through anything. But yeah, so when you think of Jinteki at first in the game, one of the things you first think of in um, just in the game in general is that they're the faction of like trickery, traps, uh, net damage, winning through uh, pinging you, because that's personal
Hmm.
evolution. But historically, Jinteki has been one of the best control factions across like four different idents.
Yeah, I think like especially like longer ago, they had the at one time the only, but also the best non-ice ways of ending the run. Especially through replicating perfection, which basically just said like you had to make two runs in order to make one run, which
I wanted to look up the
they
card
could
name.
make
I just
very
wanted to look up
difficult.
Nisei because it got you both Caprice and Nisei Mark II.
Right, and there they are, is the two very powerful ways of just stopping the runner where icebreakers can't
Uh,
actually do anything about it.
for a long time, RP was this very powerful, like control deck where you could have a bunch of assets that were out on the side that like you could have things on the side that needed to be run, but you have to waste a click going centrals, and the centrals would have like real ice that would either you'd have to like bounce off badly or spend like 4 or 5 not getting
Yeah, it
murdered.
almost kind of reminds me of like the modern Asa decks where you're looking to have like all of your centrals iced and several iced remote servers too.
Does the art
Having
wanna?
some trouble loading,
Oh, did it?
maybe.
And dust.
Maybe it
Anyway,
needs a refresh or something.
well, anyway, the geonomics here, without even pulling up the art, the trash cost of each card is increased by 1 by each face down card in archives. This was a combo with some really stupid recursion pieces and like
Yeah.
cards that like let you like force. This became a very powerful prison deck as well. So Jinteki's kind of had that as well for a long time.
Yeah. Though I would distinguish between a control deck and a prison deck, though.
Yeah, I just mean that like even outside of this, like we have, if I go to all here, we still have,
Restoring humanity,
yeah,
which is a pretty interesting ident.
yeah,
It's the
uh
4015
yeah,
Virgin Techie.
yep. But
That
but
also
yeah.
has a drip on it, but yeah, very very cool lineup for the top 16. A lot
Uh,
of different identities that are represented, a lot of or at least a couple of strategies which really haven't been seen in a world's top cut yet, like PE. I don't think has ever been in a world's top cut as far as I know.
yeah, it's like we can take a look at that P list here as well. We'll go ahead and see what we have. So, just taking a look at our top four, top eight here. We actually do have these lists. They're just not claimed.
Yeah.
Um,
There was some interesting 419 list that was doing like it was kind of tag me, but it was sort of more like value tag me, where it just looked to remove the tag at end of turn using Citadel Sanctuary for
yeah.
free.
So if we take a look at our let's take a look at our top four because I think that gives us a lot of looks at different factions here. So if we go ahead and pull up, that's too far. Did I lose the? I must use this.
Yeah.
Decorates. We want. Actually, no. We want front. We want criminal. We want this. Okay. So 419. This was third place. Um, this is a deck here that again
Playing boat.
we're seeing boat. But as mentioned, yeah. So 3x Citadel Sanctuary. That's actually much more of what we're doing here. At the end of your turn, force the corp to trace one. If unsuccessful, aka you win the trace, the runner removes a tag. And then you've got things like where's our
I think credit kiting and
there it is. Yeah, credit
rogue
kiting.
trading are the two main ones.
Yeah, so credit kiting is install a card, lower its cost by 8. Wow,
Hmm.
wonder what you might install
Hmm.
with that.
What
Could
could I get for 8 credits?
could be
Hmm.
anything. Like I don't know what you might get for 8. I mean, even installing like a Mina here is
Yeah,
also worth the
totally fine.
but then so you get tagged from that, or you get tagged from rogue trading, and all of a sudden, like bam, you go ahead and untag yourself. Same with like no free lunch to be able to do that if needed as well. No free lunch being the either easy mark or remove a tag.
Yeah.
Um, in here we also have some of the more normal to see money cards, bravado, falsified credentials coming out.
Yeah, nothing too surprising. Blueberry Diesel was a little bit of a surprise for
Yeah,
me.
this one's always surprising to see because I don't think the card's very good.
I mean, you get to look at 4 cards in your deck, which is better than Diesel.
You get to
But
look at 3 cards in your deck. It's,
look at the top two. Oh, you only have one at the bottom. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Only 3 cards. Yeah, yeah.
it's like
It's worse Diesel in every
yeah.
way.
I don't know. The thing I always feel bad about with this card is that like if I had just taken the time to like draw 2 cards with like click actions, I would.
Mhm.
The only difference is that I got a scry, and it's like, oh.
It does, at the very least, combo with Class Act, so you get to
That's
filter an additional card when you play it.
you do get to feel a lot better if you have class act with the card. I'll give
Yeah,
it that. That's
yeah,
where it's like actually fine. Um, but you do need to be able to like in a deck like this, especially where it's like we have turtle, but like we only have 1x of our like breaker suite. We're on cleaver.
Cleaver's interesting. Not paying the 1 extra influence for
Might be
the
a
much better breaker.
that might be just a necessity choice. Like okay,
But yeah,
stargates are
honestly, I would probably think that that they chose Stargate over any other multi-access option.
so.
Um,
Um, we have the bad dash. This is something we see, basically everywhere. Is this like free point if you know you're going
yeah,
somewhere?
there's certain matchups where that is so huge that
And we've seen pit hole threading also just be pretty big as time has gone on, especially in.
mm,
Um, I really enjoy the comments here. How do you deal with fast advance? I don't know. What do you want? So I scored 7 points. Easy,
stole them.
easy. Like what? Here's
Uh,
my answer. I won the game.
just be a criminal, man. I don't know.
did,
What do you want?
that's
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
that's
good.
that's perfect to me. That's a very criminal answer to it. Like,
The essence of criminal.
yeah. To take a look on the other side, on Bigfoot's
So
other,
yeah, still third place.
we get to see the NBN showing here. This is a list that the style we've seen a lot, though this specific build we have not. But this is a reality plus, so this means it gets to play the 3/3 suite, the really really strong, um, you know,
Yeah,
set
two of the
agenda.
better agendas that you could put in your deck.
Yep. Then we've got the normal stuff you see here. Drago being basically the best card in the deck. A lot of the hard hitting news, and then we have our market forces, our self growth. Self growth, by the way, God, that can be such a beating. Like
Hmm.
forcing. Uh, hey, Sacred. No, we're basically just kind of talking about worlds list. We just started getting into the list part of things. We started talking about like the the faction split, the fact that like PE actually showed up, the fact that somebody was on Apex at the event, that sort of thing. But so we talked about. Oh, I guess we didn't actually talk about 419 the ident. 419 came off the banned list. Um,
Hmm.
419 was not banned for being like. 419 wasn't banned for being too good. 419 was banned
For being the
for
obvious
being the
choice, really.
best
Like
crim.
there wasn't any other ident that like offered as much free value at that time.
So 419's effect is the first time the corp installs a card each turn, you may expose that unless the corp pays 1. This makes 419 the annoying player who's sitting there behind Ristic Study.
Yeah,
You
basically,
you want to pay 1 for that? You want to pay for 1 for that? You want to pay 1 for 1?
basically.
You want to pay for 1 for that? Yeah, every turn you're getting that. So it's only on the first install, so you can layer your installs where it's like, here's the obvious card you already know I'm installing. Here's the one I don't want you to know, right? Like when you're installing cards, if you're installing like a upgrade you're about to res or something like that. Like you're a sports metal deck installing what's the grid that's gain like draw or gain
Um,
install and that sort of thing, right?
Tranquility Home Grid.
Yeah, like that sort of thing where it's like, oh well, this is obvious. But like if you're installing, you're like a spin doctor, you're about to res, right? You just don't care. You can, and then your other cards you can play.
Hmm.
The bit that works with is that Amakua on expose does get a virus counter. So
Yeah,
Amakua is 419's breaker. But yeah, so yeah, 419 quite strong for being either the information broker or the just sort of this small economy hit.
And from what I saw on stream, I think it was very often, no, I'm not going to boost your turtle. I'll pay 1.
Yes.
Um,
So
which
um,
and that's a pretty meaningful tax. I mean, 1 credit per turn doesn't sound like a lot, but that's like the equal and opposite force that ETF gave, and that was a pretty sick corp ID. So
yes. So uh, we've got notes here on this. They weren't impressed with they weren't impressed with Funhouse, but they were you know super excited about Lacosta's speed. Um, things like Best Defense is a one of. Best Defense is a neat card because even if the runner's not tagged, 0 is an option.
yep,
And
and it can deal with things like misdirection, which is
yes,
often very difficult for NVN idents.
yeah. The obvious win here is scoring 2 of these. Once you have like this, tag setup going where they're just not going to be able to come in. You've got the money drain kind of going with market forces to hit them to
Hmm.
0, and then uh, you've got things like IP block for how effective this is. Um, Turnpike isn't the end of the run here, but yeah. So oh, and Ansel's actually
Yeah,
is
pretty interesting ice suite.
so
Just I think a little bit of pepper thrown in there.
yeah. Lacosta's interesting in here. I'm not. I guess this is like you get to like because you're not going to be able to get the fast advance of 5-3 out of this, but
Right. Yeah, it doesn't change like the rate at which you actually score, but it does free up a click during those 2 turns that you are trying to score, which can be pretty important, if you want to do like a hard-hitting news or a self-growth or something, try to like,
you're if you
throw
need
them off tempo.
right, you need to hit in the market forces, or you need to hit in. You want to hit in a self growth to be able to put them back to be able to unable to run again.
Yep, or you just need to actually draw it, so you click 1 draw and you get it.
Yeah, so Reality Plus, we this is kind of a known entity going in. As we take a look at the top cut, we can still see down here at 9th and 10th, we have another Reality Plus.
Hmm.
So like this was around. This was a again so the fun comments of like, oh well, often prison styles when automatic in that case, a lot of time, I think there's a reason most builds play some form of acceleration, either backroom or boom. If boom was automatic, surely the non-boom would cut backroom and just not play that. And it's like I don't know. I just didn't need boom. I
Hmm.
went 6-1 and lost to the winner. Like, and that's a very fun. Oh yeah, all right, yeah. Speaking of, let's go ahead and take a look at our first place lists.
Yeah.
Um, so of course with their first place runner. They have
Hi,
uh, their own run through here. I'll leave that to you to be able to check out on your time. But uh, this is a really good video that runs through both the sports medal, lat, and uh, bits of the event. The event. Uh,
Yeah, Sokka is a pretty prolific
yeah,
YouTube creator, so
and
if you're
Sokka's also a pretty prolific player.
oh, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
you
They,
may
they've
you may
they've had
recognize them
multiple.
from the last 4 or 5 years of. Let's just go ahead and check out published tech lists. I don't know. Author name. All right. We got our first place worlds. We got our first place continentals. We got our nationals lists here.
Yep.
Up here's our other nationals. Here's our 2020 U.S. Nats. Here's 2019 Canadian Nationals. 2020 Continentals. Fifth at Worlds here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Obviously a
like
very
like
high quality player
yeah,
for
they.
sure.
So
But there's definitely something to be said for a high quality player who also takes the time to try to, share his thoughts with other people and
yeah, so
and I think Sokka even has videos about like learning the game too. So if you want to check those out, absolutely recommend.
yeah. So one of the things I want to pull up here, because we go ahead and take a look at Control Lab.
Yep, this is a list that many of the people going to Worlds have seen prior to Worlds. This is, I think, kind of set the tone for the entire metagame.
And then it got
Uh,
bopped with 3x Rozeki 3x pad tab loss, which
and
was
then its entire engine got smacked. Yeah.
so now you take a look at what Apocalat here is playing, uh, Apocalat.
Hmm.
And you'll notice this isn't just like a swap 6 cards. This is actually a pretty big change. And so we can take a look first. The breaker suite changes to be okay. We have multiple Ngolo. This lets us. Ngolo is a breaker that lets you heavily pressure a one ice server. Um,
Hmm.
Ngolo is very important for being a breaker that you can just like if your opponent tries to go for like an early score behind one ice, Ngolo just says, "Sorry, bad idea." Uh,
Yep.
or lets you also pressure early in that sense because you can paint anything into a code gate. Um, Ika here is our Sentry Breaker. Interesting that we only have the uh, one that's hostable. I always find that one like I would be wary doing this because like I would just assume my opponent would overwrite the ice, but
Yeah. Well, I think Ika very much is a backup plan for this list.
yeah.
Um.
And then we have our Fracture here,
For,
which also is much more of a again, a smaller plan here because what we can see is that this is still definitely a boat list. We're on 3 Stone Ship Char, we're on 3 Endurance.
yeah. Boat is the other half of the breaker suite.
We have APOC. APOC
Which
is
is interesting because like normally you would never consider playing APOC in a list where you're trying to also install an 8 credit console.
yeah.
Like, do you really want to throw away those 8 credits? Well, this deck seems to say yes.
I mean, if you APOC, you put like as mentioned in the video, it's like okay, you APOC, put a couple cards down, then you get to pawn shop and gain back all that money because APOC trashes all the corpse cards but turns yours face down, and so
Hmm.
those become just textless cards for pawn shop to eat. And then we're seeing pinhole threading as a way to deal with stuff like Anoetic Void. We're seeing Stargate as a uh, way to force a win condition.
Yep.
And then Deuce's Wild as the final influence here. A lot you can see. We also do have a pretty heavy event money suite in this as compared to in Control at. Yes, we have Creative Commission, Dirty Laundry, Sure Gamble, but in here we're also including the extra Deuce's Wild. Actually, I guess we're still on. We're
Yeah,
on more.
pretty
We're on,
similar
we're on
generally.
we're on more rigging up. We're on 2 Mad Dash. Oh boy. That's that's a fun one. And then Beth is the only drip card that you're probably going to be playing. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then the misdirect for we have a couple of these cards that are just like, we know what decks we're expecting.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting. Like, uh, I almost can't really like grok how the econ works in this deck. Like, it kind of doesn't seem like enough, really, for what it's trying to do. But I think this deck does try or want to play lower to the ground
well,
than the last one did.
it definitely is a much more pressuring deck. You can see here we're looking at Rizeki pad tap and kind of like I'm going to sit around. We even have simul chip as like this recursion piece. Whereas in here, like we just have a bunch of money and like that's we have Ngolo alone tells me like, hey, I can at least be a little bit more pressuring early.
Yeah.
Maybe not specifically, but like because you can't have this long game econ that's just infinite with Rizeki. You know
I mean, yeah, really all you need to put pressure on this list is the boat and a breaker. I mean, ideally Angolo, but it could be any one, I suppose.
yeah,
And at
depending
that
on
point, you can probably threaten to a apocalypse.
right.
And
The idea with this deck is that the corp is never going to get to like this two ice resed on every central setup because you're going to apoc way before you're going to pull that trigger way earlier, right?
yeah,
So
and you
um
might do it multiple times in the game too, and just be like, no, 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 we're we're not playing that long game, Corp. We're
so so it's interesting to see Lat taking, and then of course Lat has the draw, which lets you get into this uh, stuff quicker.
yep.
Um, the more interesting list that Sokka's on here, I love this one. Um, so this
That's a good gif.
you gotta have one, like that's the rules. So let me just go. I'm just gonna go here. I'm just gonna go look up sports metal, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull up. No.
That's a little bit stranger. There should be another one in the top 16 at Worlds, but of course the search isn't going to be that useful.
Yeah, basically the idea on this list here is that this started again going from description here. This kind of started as like let's go into PD and shifted into a sports metal deck. It's got
Mhm.
a higher ice like cost than we're used to seeing in here. Failchild 3 is normal, but the Ansels are again more sixes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's 5, 6 cost ice.
and we get our
Sorry, 6 with Loki.
next activation command. Oh my god!
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much fast advance in this deck though. It's quite wild. Um,
Well, it's interesting. Like next activation command, I think when it released, didn't really have an obvious use case, but now what it does is basically says your boat can't do anything for a turn.
yes. So this is a card that all of a sudden uh changed like became a lot more powerful because it says non icebreakers turn off. So you have a turn where the opponent just goes, oh, I can't. I just can't run these. Any server that has a
And
Fairchild
just
on it is just
stare at their boat with 10 counters on it and sob quietly.
right. So like you can open a window that absolutely shouldn't be there,
Yep.
but now it is. And then of course we have our fast advance, audacity, seamless launch, biotic. Seamless is more for the like I'm just gonna install one of these on the outside and then like roll it down. Whereas biotic and audacity let you score from hand. You've
Hmm.
got your normal only on one bifurcation, and that's talked about as well in there. But mega pre qualifier, Vitruvius, and
The
transubstantiation.
usual suspects.
Yeah. So And even like scoring a GFI isn't like outrageous because of how powerful seamless launch can be.
Yeah.
So and like red level clearance, letting you can do some weird trickery with red level. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, this was definitely like more. It started as an idea for PD, moved over to sports metal, and you can see it's still obviously got the trappings of sports metal, but a bit more ice than the build that we had seen. So and yeah, next activation command being just
Yeah.
so so yeah. Let's take a look at second place. So here we have Freedom, and you can see listed here second, seventh, eighth, 12th, 16th, 25, 20, this list was piloted by a group. Um, it performed very well because let's again go see. This is 7 of its pilots. That's here we are. If I go up here and I go look at the Freedom contingent, yeah,
There's
that's
only 18,
yeah,
so like more than a third
and
placed very well
four
at this event.
four freedoms in the top cut.
Yeah.
Or so take a look at Freedom here. As we mentioned, Freedom is definitely a has a virus liker setup, but in this deck we only really see um
Yusuf
you see
and
Yusuf
Fermenter.
and one
I
Botulus.
guess Botulus too.
Hey man, I just want to let you know I talked to Orbital and Shiva Worlds, mentioned doing these streams often, and I think meant a lot to them. Want to pass along. Oh, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. Glad you had a fun time at Worlds as well. Or hope you had a great time out there. I sure do look forward to actually being able to make it out to paper events myself at some point. Uh,
One
but
of these days.
yeah, but yeah, we see a lot of these kind of more known setups. Okay, we've got our moshing with Black Orchestra, MK, Paperclip. Those are kind of known things. We got Zero. Um, but one of the big things we do see as far as what we're doing in Anarch is that the combination of boat plus hippo can be very deadly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even I think Hippo alone is pretty. I don't want to say underrated, but
it's
it's a pretty impactful card.
it's definitely a lot more known in boat era because we see it both here in this list that did quite well, and we're gonna see it as well in our upcoming Hoshiko decks. But yeah, Fermenter is very, very good money. This is generally getting you like 6 to 8, like.
Yep, just kind of like what I thought when we saw the bans. That I think Fermenter is probably the best other drip econ card that's available at this time.
Yeah, and we do see. Oh boy, Gachapon.
Gachapon, it's seen a fair bit of play. It's a solid card. It's kind of like that reckless Anarch style.
Yeah,
Lets you dig through 6 cards of your deck, which is pretty big.
it reminds me of Street Vendor.
Yeah. Yes. Very much.
Though you know what you're getting out of Street Vendor before this, so but
Hmm.
you still get like a nice like
Yeah.
acceleration.
Gachapon feels more like spray and pray to me. Like you just kind of hope for what you want to see and hope you get it.
Well, also take a look at like the cards we're playing here. It says pay 2 less. All right, Hippo's free, Zero's free, Citadel Sanctuary. Like uh,
DreamNet costs 1.
uh
Mystic Paladin both cost 0.
our
Botulus is 0. Fermenter 0. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good hits. Yusuf.
so a lot of things I can get free by that. So freedom here. Yeah. So just looking at it a little bit here, that idea is straightforward. What if Hoshiko had HQ pressure and could trash Tranquility Grid, Seamless Launch, and next activation command and Audacity for free. This matters because the most obvious runner decks coming out of the band shakeup uh, Oshko Reaver Shop. That's our fine APOC out of Anarch Shaper. All these decks have great matchups. Lord, except struggling against Sports Metal and some of the hybrid HP decks. So the idea here was changing over to Freedom instead of Oshko. Oh, ship. I understand the pun here.
Yep.
That's what we. Okay.
That's the quote unquote deck name.
I understand it now.
Yeah. Shipco.
At that point, we really struggled to beat Freedom because this is with Anticorp until the Dice to Doomblade Egg Runners, so which we'll be taking a look at a little after. So, whole bunch of stuff in here, but the list is pretty dang interesting. Yusuf is obviously where you're going to be getting a lot of your counters if you're going to be using Freedom for anything other than zeros.
Yeah, Yusuf kind of felt like secret tech. Like I hadn't seen that card in a long time. And that really I think is its purpose is less to break ice and more just to charge up counters.
All right. So yeah, that's what we've got here on Freedom. And here we have Dice to Doomblade. Here's a non-exhaustive list of strong counters to this deck. Hunting Grounds, Femme Fatale, Tau, Chisel Charm, Tranquilizer, Logic Bomb, Security Nexus, Caldera. Here's a list of the four of which of the four of us played against these in the 7 rounds of Swiss in the cut.
One anyway.
That's it. Nobody was playing any of the counters. They were ready. They knew, like, well, we die to Doomblade. If people bring the counter to our deck, we're screwed.
What is Chisel Charm? Is that Chisel obviously is the NR card. What's Charm? Oh, that's the gives it -6 strength or whatever when you counter it. I think that's that other NR hardware.
Oh god, where's mine?
I don't remember what it's called.
Help. Where did I put my window?
It's gotta be something Charm, right?
Yeah, because that's the
Devil
charm.
Charm. Yeah, yes. There it is. Yep.
I couldn't remember the name of what the charm name was, but yes,
I could picture the cube, but
yeah,
not the name.
So Chisel Charm.
Yeah.
Being the
So just trashing it by encountering it. Yeah, that would break the lock.
Yep. So
but
so first things first.
If no one's bringing Doomblade,
yeah, first things first. If you're going to understand egg, we must read egg. So egg. Let me get rid of some of these extra tabs here. Egg infusion. Once per turn, instead of resing an approach piece of ice, you may trash it to choose another server. The runner is now running that on that server and encountering the outer post piece of ice, if any.
Yeah, and it specifically actually skips ahead to encounter. So the runner is already encountering the ice by the time that resolves.
So
there's no opportunity to jack out or be like, "Oh, I'm done," or "Nope, you're just there."
So it gives you a like, just on the surface, it's like a false end the run in the sense that, like, if they run a server that you don't want them on, trash the outer piece of ice. The outermost.
It's almost like a built-in border control, kind of like.
Yeah.
They're not going to finish the run on that server, and you can just shunt them over to like archives where it doesn't matter or whatever.
You don't have to trash the most outer piece of ice. You can trash any ice that's being approached, but but you get a once off to push them somewhere else, which can be quite bad if it's a piece of ice they don't want to encounter for some reason. I don't know why they might not want to encounter it, but you know, in case there's a piece of ice that if they encounter, they die.
They couldn't possibly break by any means, or
so the combo setup that this deck has to be able to just say stop. Loki here is a very interesting piece of ice. It's a Bioroid 6 cost, 3 strength. When the runner encounters it, you can choose another piece of ice. It gains subtypes and subroutines all above Loki's subroutine. And so the combo you have here is with our new card here that allows you to choose a Resed Bioroid runner card abilities cannot break the subroutines on it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with other bioroids, if I go over to
Yeah. Usually when you think of a
Fairchild,
bioroid, you think of this text.
yeah, it has some sort of text like this: click, break a subroutine.
Just
However,
about every single one has that, except for Loki.
and the thing is that Loki would gain, just gains the subtypes and the gains these powerful, powerful.
Yeah,
Oh
lots of
god, oh
options.
god, I forgot
Yeah,
about this one. Oh,
3 of those. Yeah,
Lizney is the
yeah.
so yeah, you can make it so making a run can be like just the worst idea. You run into a Chiashi and explode, and so you that setup gives them a lot of power. We're also seeing, we have a bio vault, we have a lot of our setup are these 5/3s, and then send a message lets us res this super expensive ice on score or steal. So
Yep.
we can actually get these like super 8 cost, 12 cost, um 7 cost, 8 cost. We can get there even if we have some sort of like denial on our money. But we're
Yep.
also playing Regolith Mining. We're playing Hansei Review, which is a hedge fund +1. Um,
Also divert power, which is very cool. It's a card that I was playing around with in this type of deck for a bit, some time ago, which lets you like de-res cards in order to res a card at a discount.
what is the so Fruit Salad Kung Fu asks, what does the Doomblade card do? Do you mean like what does the card named Doomblade do, or do you mean like these cards that are listed here? Because Doomblade is just a piece of removal in Magic. That's just the name Dies to Doomblade is a joke based on okay, so Dies to Doomblade is a Magic joke, based on people's responses to spoiled cards, where like you could have the most powerful bullshit nonsense creature and be like, well, it dies to Doomblades 1 out of 5, you know. Like, oh, it just dies to removal. Can't be a good card. And like that became a running joke for a while. The use of it here is that the deck actually does have these really specific hard counters that make it so the Loki combo setup just doesn't work. Femme
Yep.
Fatale on your Loki, for instance. Hunting Grounds specifically says the win text doesn't trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Security Nexus is a bypass and not a break. Logic Bomb is a bypass. Being able to kill it with a chisel. So the idea is that these cards here are super like dangerous for the deck to play against because it's one of its best combo setups.
I mean, to be fair, the deck is pretty all in on that plan too.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's Biovolt,
well,
but that's about it for scoring agendas.
you are able to just like you do have ice that's powerful enough to just say like, yo, you
Yeah,
need.
but Chiashi's the only one that actually says end the run too. Like,
Well, that's what Obakata's for.
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's impossible to score if you've gotten your Loki blown up, but it's definitely not what the deck is planning on.
True, it's harder, much harder, and that's why they say strong counters to the deck, and they just didn't run into them.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what Ogden Fusion's about. It's got a lot of money going on in here as well to try to make it, be able to use these. Wave is actually a nifty one in here because
Yeah, as I understand, it's basically just a cantrip. It's just to draw a piece of ice.
yeah, and like if you actually obviously if your deck depends on this one piece of Loki, having
Hmm.
some tutors.
Yep, having tutors for it. You can de-res it to be able to res other ice more cheaply, and then you can sack it to be able to shunt the runner. I mean, it definitely has some pretty cool uses here.
So yeah, that's Egg and Fusion, and then we have one last set of decks to look at, and boy, these are going to be the fun ones here.
Yeah, can we take a look at that PE list?
Yeah, let's start with the PE list.
Yeah, this is my jam here. This is very cool.
So this one's a really like goes in a really interesting direction with the PE setup. because you take a look at what it's doing with its money.
I mean, so first of all, it's playing 16 agendas,
16
right?
goddamn agendas. So we've got House of Knives, which is like one of the oldest. This is a P staple for the eternity. Sting, which
Yep.
has become a more recent obvious P staple for eternity.
Yep.
Um,
That with Obokata,
yep.
I think, is kind of the core suite of agendas usually played.
And then we
Then there's Kusanagi, which is interesting.
so
It's a 0 agenda point agenda.
so Kusanagi here is a 0 point agenda. If it's stolen, it's worth nothing. If you score it, it's worth nothing. Nobody has ever over advanced this card in life. Um, like just that doesn't happen. But personal evolution, the text on the card is when an agenda is scored or stolen, do a net damage. So this O2, when it's stolen, is a net damage. Also, we're
It
playing
hangs out in the score
we're
area.
playing stock buyback. Stock buyback here gives you $3 for each agenda in the runner's score area. Well, Kusanagi's a pretty good one to have in the score area.
Yep.
Um,
Technically an agenda.
and then we take a look at our ice suite here. Th- just nothing cost stuff. We've got Diviner here is a tiny code gate to do a net damage, and then it has
Yeah.
a
Playing
weird end
no
the run.
playing no barriers here is very interesting. Diviner's really just kind of attacks ice. A Nazi and an enemy, I think those are kind of the more dangerous ice
Yeah,
that you're trying to like flatline the runner with.
so a Nazi here is an ice that's always very like big when it does land because you can go ahead and get the 3 net damage +1 if you can land.
It's probably the most feared res
It's
for the
also
runner. Like
also
it's the thing that they're like planning to hit
as
if they have to face plan something.
as a big point to it. This is a really good like anti-boat ice
Yeah, it's
because
got
like
3 subs.
you need to fully break it to not take that 3, and that's
Yep.
4 counters off the boat.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
Anemone here
that's real.
is much more of a much more of a trick. You're usually rezzing this and then getting the 2 net damage.
Hmm.
Tithe is, yup, we're
Just
just,
attacks. It's honestly fine.
and then Sexenton here is one that sometimes just kills you.
Yep, sometimes just kills you, and I think probably another one that's good against boat. Just for having 3 subs that you don't want to fire.
Yeah, we should probably though read the last card that is in here, the wake up
Yeah,
call.
very cool.
So
Yeah,
wake up call. Play only if the runner has trashed a corp card during their last turn. Choose one installed piece of hardware or virtual resource.
non-virtual resource.
Non-virtual resource. The runner must either trash that card or take 4 meat damage.
Mm-hmm.
Which let me tell you a little bit about taking 4 meat damage against the PE player. Don't.
Yeah. Well, it's
might
interesting. It's less threatening than it used to be. I think, especially with
we
neural EMP
right.
gone.
We don't in this deck see like a. There's not like a. We're not playing the blood in the water. We're not going to
Yeah,
be able to like score, kill there. The idea here, obviously, with the fact that this hits hardware, uh,
I have a bomb here, and it's either going in your house or in your boat.
yeah.
Your choice.
So,
And go, well, I guess put it in the boat then. I don't
yeah,
know.
all right, put it in the boat. So we've got Hokusai Grid, we've got Snares, we've got Rashida, because obviously we want to be able to have the some of the set cards be able to threaten, like either
Yeah,
don't
this
touch
deck
this, touch
is
this.
honestly so lean. Like
Yes, we're not.
very tight on which traps it's playing. It's not doing a lot of like one-ofs or tricky things or whatever. It's just 3 Hokusai, 3 Snare, 3 Rashida. It's just they're the best cards. I play 3 of them.
We're not doing cleaning house. We're not doing
No Prisec
we're not
or
there's no advanced setup in here.
yep,
We're not like some of the decks are more of a like either mitosis or like just install advance
yeah.
setups. That's not what this is doing.
Yeah, the only thing you're advancing are agendas.
So
This is a deck that I think you really have to be comfortable with bluffing to play well. Like,
yeah.
man.
So very cool. Uh very and even like a very different direction. Like this isn't like we've seen different PE decks and even if I take a look on top, do we have? No, we don't have. We have to have that. Hold on.
You don't top 16 worlds with PE and not post it
Hold
on
on.
Netrunner
Hold
DB.
on. Hold on.
That just
Especially
doesn't happen.
well, especially like I. That's Let's go here. Let's go. Show more, please.
Might be a little hard to find, but I'll bet it's somewhere.
I thought for sure like Ice Cold Jazz would have posted. No, maybe not. Maybe okay. Well, anywho, let's take a look at the other.
Keep your secrets then.
Let's take a look at the other big deck in the room. So
Yeah.
we talked about Hoshiko being 25% of the room, and uh, yeah, this is a boat. As mentioned, we've got Hippo, with Endurance, DreamNet. So DreamNet
Yeah.
here is first time you make a run, successful run, draw a card. If you have 2 link or are a digital ident, also gain a buck, which makes this like super good at accelerating your like offensive game plan.
Yeah.
Um,
Getting a card draw and a credit for running is just like pretty
yeah,
huge for one card.
yeah. Just like if we go back over to yeah, it's a DreamNet. DreamNet's very powerful. Um, we have a lot of the mainstays here, moshing with Black Orchestra, MK Ultra Paperclip, which moshing is trash 3 from your grip, draw 3, gain 3, and you can trash these. Same with trashing Steel Skin. Um, Mad Dash, we see. Deuce is Wild. This one has been a continuously popular pull for your last influence. It's just very flexible. We see a Stargate, you know, win condition kind of set up here. We also see like a anti-tag bit with the no free lunches. Kind of
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's no tagging cards in here, right? I don't
um
think so. I guess
no.
there's a Citadel too, though, so they must have had some concern for tagging
Yeah, there
in the
must have
court
been a
meta.
like okay, they're very like oh boy, what happens if
And honestly, I could see no free lunch being quite good against like the Reality Plus decks, you know. Um, they got like a Drago or something. You're just like, nah.
yeah, well, no thanks. Um, but yeah, so it's very smooth. A lot of what we see, you know, it's going to be a very aggressive line. Boat plus Hippo lets you knock out ice. Your Breaker Suite comes back from the grave. You've got a lot of cash hanging out here, liberated accounts, daily cash. Paladin we know does a lot when you have all these cards to install. Botulus does let you also like push forward on like a kind of an inside job level way through at times, or just like you put it on an ice and that's something you just easily have the answer to 1 for 1.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
it's a little bit like kind of short term. Like you usually use it once and then have to wait a few turns for it to recharge. But yeah, it's still solid.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what we have as far as our top 4. One thing I was going to mention from watching the event, and this is something I think that this is a result of the last couple of years of Netrunner major events having been online. No specific person. This is not a call out at anyone. A lot of missed triggers. A lot of
Mm,
just like it's very easy to when you're playing on Jinteki.net where everything is done automatically
yeah.
to have a bit of an issue swapping back over to paper and like missing a successful run.
419 trigger, turtle trigger, boat trigger. I mean, yeah, you saw lots of these things happening during
Yeah,
the event.
yeah. So like, it was just something that like it's I'm guessing it's most likely a side effect of just having everything's been on Jinteki.net for 2 years plus.
Yeah.
And on Net, everything's very automatic, and it can. And Netrunner, if you take a look at a generic board state, if I go ahead and
Netrunner as a game feels like one where like just having board presence is more difficult to do than
so yeah,
other games.
like just like okay, your board presence here just immediately is like 6+ cards, all with their own like timings and stuff, and
Yeah.
it can get very very
But also though, like I'm pretty sure the few times I did see an error like that,
it was caught
um,
usually.
it was caught and it was usually forgiven by the other player. Outside of like the top four, I think, maybe even just the top two, like the finals was where they weren't allowing that.
Uh,
But like generally, I think most Netrunner players are pretty forgiving, especially if you catch it in time before it really affects the board state or anything like that. There's exceptions like secret information is a one where it's kind of like no,
you
you
can't
can't
back up on
really do
anything like
anything
that.
about that. Yeah. Um,
So
but yeah, and I think I personally struggle with that a lot in terms of just like remembering my damn
well,
triggers. Like
like I'm
it's
thinking
hard
of
to do.
a setup where you have DreamNet and you've got
You got Boat
b-
and DreamNet
boat, and you've
and
got you have a bunch of like on successful run, or even things that are like, and when the successful run ends, or there's a lot to
hmm
it, and so uh, that can be a little hard when it's not just sort of happening for you.
Yep.
Um, so other things that happen at Worlds, there were two other events there. Uh, Crown of Servers. This is an event that grew out of it was a side event at Worlds for a long time,
hmm
from God, what, 2015 on.
Something like that. Yeah.
You may remember it as King of Servers, and it's some of its previous iterations. This is a very cool team tournament. It's a format that is just like very funky. In I guess we don't have all
Yeah,
the data from it.
there's certain like deck building restrictions, I think. Like you're limited to one playset between all players for some cards or something like that. I don't remember how it works exactly. Um
You get a belt these days? I didn't get a belt winning this.
yeah, that's right. You got drafted on a team one year.
We won that year.
Yep.
Well, we split the win, but yes. uh, but yeah, like it's a very cool team event. Yeah, here's the Crown of
The
Servers
belts, the
belts.
championship belts.
So like you so yeah. Is there a place where I can sit the specifically? I want to pull up specifically the team rules, because from I don't know if they're exactly the same as when I played in the
Yeah,
event, which
there's something
it
about
was
the deck building.
because
I can't remember what it is.
back then it was 4v4, and
Could
everyone had to play a different faction, except for the runner. You could have two of the same, and then you were also limited to like a play set of cards throughout your team. I don't know if
look at that
that's
more link underneath that top image. Maybe the rules are on there. Yeah, I'll bet.
um okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
here we
all
are.
three.
So,
Yeah.
so teams are required to all three main runner factions with no duplicates on the team. Um, Teams are needed to represent three of the four. Okay, so they brought the teams down to 3-person. That's the difference. Got it. Yeah, in the style of King of Servers. So King of Servers was a 4-person team. Crown of Servers is 3. That's the difference.
Got
Excellent.
it.
So, but this is such a cool event, because you play against another team. Table talk and banter are fully allowed.
Yeah.
Like, so you have all your three games are going on with like all at the same area, and you can like whoever's the middle player can kind of like better look at like, oh, what's going on here, okay, you know we'll kind of help out on that. And then of course we have the during
Yeah. I
last,
mean, like there's a certain point in the game
you
where
just
like
gotta
you
go.
you just want to see how it ends, and
But but yeah,
not listen to people discuss back
th-
and forth options and
this
lines.
yeah, so this is such a cool. I love this format. Like it's
Yeah,
such a unique.
that's very cool.
Yeah, so yeah, if I pull up, yeah, so King of Servers was a side event that happened for 2015 through 2018.
Yeah.
So was a very fun side event. We also had at Worlds a startup world champ. Startup is the if I go ahead and click on this, you can see. I'm sorry, is startup not listed under the?
Yeah.
Hmm,
More information
more
coming
information.
soon. So startup is like the trimmed down standard format. Basically, it just includes all of the cards with the uh
The
non FFG card back.
yeah,
Um,
it's the Nisei slash null.
I was gonna say I almost said Nisei, but then I was like,
Well, the card back, you know, but it's all of the cards that are post FFG is the
right.
idea.
Yep,
So
that's a good way to put
and
it.
so had a very sizable turnout as well, 94.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, I assume that they organized it such that they did not overlap the two events, so that you could play in both. Um,
yeah.
which
Um,
probably contributes a lot to its participation.
so yeah. We end up with a lot of different decks because the band lists are different. For instance,
Yeah, did they do a ban list for startup? They were kind of like hinting at it, it seemed like, before Worlds, but I don't think I ever saw one.
I don't believe so. No, there was a note that like maybe we'd be doing something with it, but it still has all the like cards that are banned in standard in here.
Okay.
So, but
Well,
yeah,
maybe we'll see something after this event
but
then.
like
I guess I don't know really what the meta was like here. I
I'm not
didn't look at this one at all.
so. See, I didn't either. I watched a little bit of the gameplay because we had bladder wart at any age.
Mm. Okay, Neurotop does not strike me as a startup card. Like, that's an old card that's been around for a while.
Posted reasoning was that there was not enough data to make a meaningfully informed bet. That actually makes a lot of sense. Like there haven't been.
Yeah, there's been some complaints, but probably not enough actual results to really say for sure.
So we've got a lot of information here on it as well. Boom.
Zero hedge fund. Yeah.
I mean, it's NEH is one of the very, very, very few lists that is willing to go that route.
Mm,
But yeah, happy to see a cool a large amount of players playing an alternate format like that, and so having Crown of Servers, having standard, and having startup, and having a pretty sizable showing for those is neat. I hope more people. I see we only had. I don't know if that's 41 players or 41 teams. If that's 41 teams, that'd be like about 120-ish players.
yeah, that's awesome.
So
That's great turnout.
and I think that's the setup here. Yeah, because the like Apocalypse Now's that's what I call music volume 22. At least we're not playing. At
2209.
least we're not playing startup.
Oh, ouch.
Jackson Howard's on Trashables. Hashtag free the turtle. APAC champs featuring Chris. Okay.
You wouldn't download a boat.
Um, Part of the issue is entrenched standard players look at startup and think the format can't be balanced with the current card pool, which makes designing the ban list very difficult when nobody's playing the format to get you data to. You wouldn't download a boat. By the way, if you're playing in Chrono servers, you do have to come up with a fun.
Oh yeah,
You,
sure. Oh, I heard there was like a trivia night one night. That was probably pretty cool.
Fall Guys, Sand Breakers. I asked my children, they suggested Netrunner Bros, Cyber Commander in attack position, hashtag team go home. I almost won a regional in 2014. Nice to see you. Yeah, do love this. So I'm super happy to see a bunch of like folks playing like because playing in King of servers was one of the funnest events I ever got to play in.
Heck
Uh,
yeah.
because like having your deck building had to be very different based on your teammates, and even back when I played it, it's like so who gets the Jacksons like like you
What's what's that
but
middle alt art card?
actually no I don't think you actually did you have card conflicts like that with Jacksons. I'm trying to remember I think you did in King. I don't know. This alt art.
Yeah,
This is Hydra.
Hydra. Okay, that's pretty cool. Very
Yeah,
nice.
and then we have a
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's some other rule about that. Um,
because I remember like
like they wouldn't do it to all cards, right? Because they wouldn't just make you play with 3 hedge funds among 4 people. That'd just be rude.
I thought it was.
But maybe it was.
I
I
really
guess I
thought
don't know.
I really thought it was back there, but it's been so long so that I don't remember. I just remember. Look, what I remember is playing against Dan in the final round and getting to have one of my favorite games I've ever played.
Yeah.
So, uh, so yeah,
And that was the year he won too, right?
yes. Well, that was I think the second
Or,
year.
or
I think
that
it
that
was
was
the
the
second
second
year
year
he
that he
won.
won. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we've got as far as the events. But that's not everything we got out of Worlds. So if I go ahead and go forward here, there was some folks doing gunslinging at Worlds. If you're not familiar or haven't been to a large event, gunslinging is just there's folks that are generally like tournament approved in some way, playing. Any takers, anyone can come up and challenge them, and if you win, you get some sort of prize. Generally for playing against them. Um, and what they were playing with were decks that contained cards that aren't out yet, that are part of.
Oh, oh, I already like this card.
So we have 4 cards to take a look at here that are going to be in Midnight Sun Part 2. What did you say the name was on that?
It's called Parhelion.
Okay. So, Super Deep Borehole. 6 to res, 6 trash cost. When you res this asset, load 6 bad pub. When it is empty, win the game.
Interesting.
When your turn begins, take 1 bad pub from this asset.
Wow. Huh. Huh.
So obviously it gets
Interesting.
cheaper and cheaper. Um, I think this
6 bad pub is like nothing to sneeze at. That's a ton of bad pub.
right. I think this card's biggest problem is pinhole threading exists.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes defending this a lot trickier.
if you're the outfit, you're gonna have money forever.
Yeah, maybe this is just Drip Pecan for the outfit that the runner has to deal with at some point.
How many alt win cons does Netrunner have?
Not many. I mean,
Uh,
there's the ones that are built in, right? I mean, there's scoring out, and then there's scoring points, or sorry, scoring out, stealing points, or flatlining. Um,
are there any others?
there's the black file,
No,
which is you
oh
can't
god,
lose the
yeah,
game.
yeah. But
It
that
doesn't say you win the
yeah,
game.
that just holds.
This might be the only you win the game card in Netrunner.
Things that
I
remove
can't think
bad
of any
pub
other.
wouldn't affect this. No, but you would be able to remove bad pub from because it's bad publicity counters.
Yeah, it's a kind
I
of a
don't.
niche thing. I don't think there's any way to really interact with that.
I think you could remove
Um,
the bad pub from yourself, but I don't know if you could remove it from this card because the card just says remove a bad pub. I guess that's something like because this is a type of effect we don't have, we might not know that until
is there a way to get this in play and face up without rezzing it?
without. Oh,
Because that would put no bad pub on it, and
is
then
it?
you just win the game
Wait, wait, wait,
as
wait,
a
wait, wait,
state-based
wait, wait.
effect.
Let's hold on. What's I
It
gotta.
doesn't say when you remove the last bad pub. It just says when
Where's
it is empty, you win the game.
I just unique. Damn.
Yeah,
The way to so counter. Uh,
because there's like there's cards that say turn face up, right? Even in Wayland, but I think they're only on agendas.
yeah. Well, the problem is you have to empty it. Here,
Um,
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to. You'd have to like.
Does a simulator only work on runner cards? One of you are face down. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't believe
There's probably not an obvious way to break it, but if
so.
there's a way you can get it into play and face up and not res it, technically you would just win the game as soon as state-based effects are checked.
And this is we actually have a second Wayland card that'll inform this a little better. So,
Okay.
all right, let's take a look at our second card here.
Spark of Inspiration. Event mod. Set aside cards on the top of your stack face up until you set aside a program. You may install that program paying 10 credits less. Shuffle to set aside cards into your stack. Yeah, that's for 3 credits? Well, I don't know. You're definitely limited by whatever you flip. It's because it's the program that you flip first, and you just install that.
Paying 10 credits less, especially when this is program. I
Yeah, like, oh yay, my SMC, nice, that's my $30 to play. And it was the top card. Woo. Yeah, I don't know. There's something there. I mean, uh, definitely, I think Shaper has a problem in that it relies on SMC probably too much.
oh,
So maybe cards like this are necessary to kind of get you away from that.
okay. Sorry about the tabbing that quick. I'll try to go differently through these. But yeah, I'm like this also reminds me of an extant card, not test run, but
Frantic coding, I
frantic.
believe.
Yeah, that's it, frantic coding. Because frantic coding, I'm just gonna give a lot of tabs that can
Slowly tab over, very delicately tabbing over.
Fran frantic coding. Look at the top 10. Any of those are programs you may install one of them and lowering the install cost by 5. Trash the
You
rest.
trash the rest of those cards. So it literally just like rips 10 cards off your deck.
Yeah.
Um, which
So
is maybe a little too frantic. Also, I love that that art has like 10 keyboards in it. That's
look
super
again.
cool.
That's frantic coding. That's the coding we got going
I
on.
need more keyboards. Yeah.
So
So yeah, it's kind of a shapery version of that. That's cool.
I'm
Yeah, a 10 credit discount. I mean, that's not nothing,
like,
but
so you're installing again. I'm always thinking like you're installing a fem or you're installing something. This is something
like,
that is like a deck building restriction. I guess I'm kind of glad it says program, because if this said program or hardware,
yeah,
then it would just be a boat tutor for 3, right? Like,
yep. But it's definitely better, I think, as just program because then you can kind of build your deck around that more. You know, you could just play like 1x of the 3 most expensive breakers, and then you just play this card 3 times, and you get your breakers installed for $9.
yeah.
What
All
would
right.
that be? Like, Amina, um, Mass Driver, and I don't even know, Barrier Breaker. Would what that would be?
I have no idea. So yeah, I'm really a big fan of this next one. This criminal card is, whoo boy, exciting.
Concerto. Deal cards on top of your stack and place credits on this event.
Reveal one card. Reveal the top card.
Top card of your stack and place credits on this event equal to its printed play or install cost. Add the reveal card to your grip. Okay, so you show top card of your deck. You set this up with that um many credits, and you
Uh
put that
huh.
card in your hand. So you draw the card,
Uh huh.
then you run any server, and you can spend those hosted credits during that run. Wow.
So
Damn. Damn,
yeah,
that's a card. Holy shit.
yeah.
So it's like a dirty laundry that draws you a card, pays you up front, costs nothing to play.
It's like a variable stim hack that draws you a card, right? Like,
Yeah,
or like an
true, because
overclock.
you don't keep the credits after the run.
Like an overclock would be a.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that it also draws the card.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's also a run event, which means it can work with Swift. It like I think this one's really nifty, especially like it's obviously variable.
It's kind of fly by the seat of your pants. You don't know what you're gonna get from it. Man, I don't know. Maybe that turns people off because you can't like
Yeah,
rely on it to get you in a server.
the fact that it specifically Ooh, what about this with like the hardware loop? The old Q prognostic loop plus like that sort of stuff.
Oh, you could like stack your deck. Yeah, totally.
Like
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen people playing those. So we're gonna go over
yeah.
here, but
Prognostic Q loop, I think.
we just search Q. That's got to be like
Eh,
Q hyphen loop.
I think it's Q hyphen. Yeah.
So prognostic Q loop is the first time you make a run. The run begins. You can look at the top two of your stack, and then you can pay one, reveal the top card of your stack if it's a program piece of hardware, install it, and then the other. What's the other half of this?
Um.
The oh
God,
god,
what was it?
type hardware faction crim. Uh, yeah, that reset everything. Hardware faction crim. Because there was another card that you would. It's been so long since I've seen anybody doing this. Um,
So, because yeah, I remember Q loop didn't let
Masterwork.
you reorder. Yeah, it was Masterwork because then you could install it on the fly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this was because like whenever you install the piece of hardware, you draw a card. When the run begins, you could install a piece of hardware and then do flips like that. Um, and then Q loop, you'd also like yeah, Boomerang was the other piece that you'd definitely be
Yeah.
using with this, and this would let you install. But just Q Loop itself says, you make your run, you get to look at the top two cards of your stack, you make your run, and then all of a sudden, now I know what the top two cards are. Now all of a sudden I see like, oh, my top card is a sure gamble. Here's my, you know, overclock plus draw sure gamble.
Hmm.
Um, I this is a card that excites me because it feels like specifically if it because it draws the card, it does enough.
Yeah. It it draws the card though. Rarely that's gonna matter for that run.
No, that
I
won't.
think there's only that one cycle of breakers that cares about that,
It might matter in the sense that like
or con.
I can play this against PE and still have a
Yeah, I mean
full
it's not useless. It's just like that card's not gonna matter until that runs over, right?
correct.
Unless you're trying to survive. Yeah, that one extra card is gonna be important. Um, I think generally you probably play this and expect to have it give you 2 credits, and so you
Very
probably
likely.
just use it like to make a probing run that maybe you wouldn't play if it costed you 2 credits or
Or like
something like that.
you're going and trashing cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're gonna go run their
Actually,
Adonis or whatever.
wait, the run is declared successful. Yeah, you can still use them there. The successful run ends after all the okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh yeah, the Q prognostic loop doesn't bypass install costs. You have to pay them.
Yep.
And then the last card here, which, uh, boy howdy, if that just ain't specs,
Regulatory capture
that's
6/2. Is that
that if that ain't somebody trying to draw spegs on a card,
gonna say it
that
kind of looks like Spags,
that's
but
just to me like
it's not like
that's like
super convincing.
look, I think that's like 90% the way to specs. All right, that's
Yeah, I'll
I
totally buy it.
anyway.
Okay, so for each bad pub you have up to 4, it gets a -1 advancement requirement. Huh. This was a criminal offense. Now it's an option for business.
So here's again, we're like all of a sudden we're getting outfit pieces.
Yeah.
Like, is having 4 bad pub 2 steeper cost for having a 2/2 in your deck? If you're already doing this, no.
Yeah.
There's already like again, the outfit is, we're going to go back here. Whenever
It's
you
interesting
get,
that it caps at 4. That's probably a smart thing, but
probably so it's not 0.
yeah.
like, uh, so the outfit here, whenever you take at least, whenever you take at least 1 bad pub, gain 3, and this is something that you really, there's some pretty powerful. I don't know. Trebuchet is the one I always think of
Yeah,
because
like bad pub as a mechanic generally has been like this this like punishment for something really good, something really strong, like Archer. I think is a great or no, not even Archer because they don't doesn't
Well,
give you a bad pub itself, but
again,
it's used with Hostile Takeover, which does give you a bad pub.
yeah, I would wager that if a card has a cap like that, that sounds like a playtest change of like, hey, if this costs
Yeah,
0, I can just score 6 points in one turn. Oh,
yeah, it's probably a problem.
like, especially if hostile takeover is one of your ways of getting to 6 bad pub, you already
Yeah,
have the first point, so then you just go, bam, bam, bam. But yeah, so the bulwark, yeah, bulwark is another biggie. Obviously, it's huge money, but the whole point of outfit is that you have huge money.
hmm
So yeah, we're definitely seeing a specific design uh for a Wayland, like basically the outfit support.
yeah, and there really wasn't a lot of bad pub in the Midnight Sun, if I recall. I'm actually curious now. How many cards
That
had bad pub on them?
is something I'm gonna have to go over here and card search advanced.
I don't think there was any. Trash install card, trash
Nope.
install card. Yeah, so there was no bad pub in Midnight Sun. Interesting. So this is kind of like a like I guess I kind of expected there to be like sort of a beginning to these ideas and then sort of like a continuation of those same ideas, but this kind of look at it going in a completely different direction
Yes.
with the second half of the set. Which I'm totally fine with. I think it looks very cool. Bad Pub, I think, as a mechanic, generally has been kind of underexplored.
And
Um,
we're not seeing a lot of, like, right now. Just looking in here, I see Too Big to Fail, Trebuchet,
yeah, it really wasn't until that set when Bad Pub became like real.
and Bulwark, and Hostile Takeover's been an accident for like literally ever, and that was usually the only.
Hmm Yeah, that was the main way that Bad Pub was acquired.
Yeah. So I think what that tells me is that this borehole is almost more of a way to load up on Bad Pub than anything else.
Yeah,
Like,
right, right, and it could be just like an econ card for outfit, which
little,
kind of terrifying, really.
yeah, and also like a threat that you like, you got to go touch it at some point. You got 6 turns to
But
do it.
it is possible to create a corp deck that is less impacted by the runner just having a lot of credits during runs.
Well,
There are ice that care about other resources and
also,
costs. You can play low on assets and upgrades that so you have less things that the runner can even spend their credits at trash. Um,
one really interesting thing on my mind looking at this is, so for those who aren't familiar, bad publicity. If the corp has it, at the start of each run, the runner gains a X temp credits, where X is the amount of bad pub
yeah, for every run.
for
So
every
up
run.
to four
Every run.
times during the turn. It's
And
huge.
so, like, once you have like 4 bad pub, that means the runner gets $4 for free. They go away at the end of the run, but they can spend them on, their breakers, any effects they have. Now, here's the thing: I'm thinking, take a look at what the runners are doing. A lot of boats.
Mm,
What if my runner, if the runner is not really doing a ton of ice breaking in the more traditional fashion, there might be a hole that can be opened
interesting. Yeah,
where
yeah.
like, obviously, you need to have a positive plan if you're going to go up to 4 or 5 bad pub.
But you can definitely mitigate the downside of just giving the runner heaps of cash if
Right.
they're just not planning on using it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's very real.
they might have to accelerate their plan of like, oh, I should probably go find my uh my black orchestra, et cetera, my conspiracy breakers, or like
Yeah.
time to start running within Golo more because now I can pay for it. But like,
But you could still be playing like ice that is very difficult to break for those breakers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely something there. I think that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah. So depending on what we see, obviously this is our a little bit of a preview for the second half of Midnight Sun. And if this is our preview, I'm like it's funny. The Super Deep Borehole alone didn't interest me. This felt really weird. But the moment we got regulatory capture, all of a sudden this answers the question of like what it is we're doing. And the answer is like, oh, if you can build a deck that's committed to it and has a couple other cards that like get to benefit from like gaining bad pub, or like you just get to have like undercosted, overpowered things that have that drawback, like that could be really cool. And then like Concerto is also like a really nifty, run event. This might have the problem I see with Concerto is actually the jailbreak problem,
Mm.
where like you just kind of play it for free, and like it becomes a deck space thing where like
Yeah, it's hard to actually earn the slot in your list
yeah.
when you could just click for a card
And then
instead.
Spark is definitely a deck building style of card. I'm not certain if the cards exist
Yeah,
for
it's
it
a card
yet.
that definitely says like there's a deck build here, but I don't think we have the payoff yet
And
for it.
obviously, there's going to be another 7 Shaper cards with it, and maybe even
Yep.
an ident that goes along with Spark. So,
I would
well,
be surprised if we got a
oh
second
no, we didn't. Sorry,
Shaper ident.
we didn't. Sorry, I was thinking.
But maybe
Not sure.
though.
No,
Maybe.
not sure. Sorry, I was thinking. The two corpse we didn't get idents on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jinteki and HB,
Because
right?
we got all 3 of the runner idents.
Yep, we
I
got
do
all three of the
I
runners, and we got
I absolutely
two
I
corpse.
do not expect a second Shaper ident around. I'm just like floating ideas, and that was on the
Yeah,
top of my
but
brain.
though honestly, seeing the sort of like different direction of that Wayland looks to be going in, um, we could maybe get a like a different sort of shaper, possibly. It could be just a whole different set of shaper cards that they're going
Yeah,
with. Um, I can definitely see there being a different Wayland ident that goes with this sort of bad pub thing.
yeah. So yeah, that's what we have here. I think that basically touches on everything I wanted to touch on from Worlds. That new Apex drops.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the mini factions are dead. I don't think we'll be seeing new cards for them anytime soon, but you never
I
know.
I would love to like on their, because like they're gonna rotate out with Data Destiny,
Hmm.
and I obviously don't know what the plan is for like the product that like rotates them, but I would want it to be something that puts them back into and puts them back in and makes like gives you know you know null
I mean,
signal like the ability to reinvent, like okay, you know
yeah,
like okay.
that's kind of what I feel like they need is a reinvention, something totally new, but also in the same colors, right?
Well, yeah, we would still have to use the same 3,
Hmm.
because like
Maybe like one of Sonny's kids grows up and becomes a hacker or something and
you know
wants to take on the corporation or
Apex evolved, or but like because but one of the things is I think you would have to use the same 3, because even with rotation of Data Destiny, you still have 3 or 4 like extant cards for them in
yeah,
Dead
exactly.
Sun
There's going to be
and
some lingering bits that are going to be awkward, but honestly,
I would keep
I would just ask that anyone that's designing cards would take a very hard look at any neutral cards that they're printing and consider maybe just giving them a different color.
but yeah, I would love to see another take on them. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, because like the mini factions are such a they're very
There's definitely an argument, I think, that the mini factions are just like inherently kind of problematic. Like either they have not enough support and you really can't do anything with them, or they're like too good and they kind of disrupt sort of the normal play. But I don't know. That's kind of a whole other discussion.
I don't know. I like it when people are still playing Atom. I think that's nifty. I think that uh
Yeah, and,
so
and the mini factions I think are best served when they are the underdog, when you don't really expect much from them, but they still show up and do some surprising things.
yeah. But yeah, so I think that's everything we got that we were going to touch on today. We've been going for almost 2 here, so
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. So, yeah, uh, not really a ton on the horizon at this point. Just the new set, which I've heard, I can't confirm, but I've heard it's planned to come out this year. So I'm very excited for that.
yeah, I haven't heard anything myself. But if God, that'd be wild if it was that quick. I'm expecting more of like an early 2023, but I also haven't heard of like when the timing is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so hope you all had a good time. Apex won a game. Woo!
Yep. Everyone cheers.
But yeah, so um, yeah, so I hope you enjoyed our kind of look over worlds here. Excuse me. I'm super excited and quite happy to watch and like see how the event went down after the bannings. I was a little worried, and obviously, endurance still was the we even saw.
It was a force, but it wasn't like a warping force, at least not in the obvious way that it was at last events.
I'd claim it still was because it was still in every deck.
Was it in every deck?
Well, I mean,
Because I mean, there was like Tag Me, Criminal. Um,
I'm pretty sure it was in like because like the 4 decks we looked at, it was in all 4.
I mean, yeah, Hoshiko, Zero, yeah.
Um,
I guess like top eight especially. Um,
as far as success goes,
I
like
think there might have been one runner in top eight not playing boat, and that would have been Zaya.
let's take a look. I think that list exists. Criminal.
White Blade Zaya.
Is that patent? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Tag Me. Yep.
That was the tag me Obellas counter surveillance, hot pursuit, credit
Yeah, and then
kiting, rogue
once you
trading.
get out of top eight, right? There's Smoke and another Tag Me Zaya, and I can't confirm that all the lists do or do not have boat, but yeah, I would probably bet at least 12 of the top 16 had boat.
But yeah, so
So yeah, you're right. That is probably still a problem. Do you think they're going to take action against boat now that World is over?
that's tough. Again, it's tough because I don't know if I'd. That would be so damaging to like what runner has for their options right now.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I guess I kind of want to believe
I
that
want
boat is fair. Like
I want to find more. Yeah, I don't know if it's one of those things we'll see more designing around 3 sub ice or whatnot. But then again, that
maybe
sounds like
hardware needs to be more trashable or, more interaction in that sense. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways that I think this problem could be approached. And I think
yeah,
the new set is probably going to have some nods towards that card.
yeah. So,
Unless they decide just to ban it before then probably not. But
so all right. Anyway, that's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you all for joining. Hope you had a fun time. Um, thanks Dakota for being here. Always happy to have you
yeah,
here.
thanks for having me.
If
Always.
you want to catch more, you can always follow. I do streams weekdays, generally starting 7 Central, but sometimes they start earlier. But if you follow, you get to know when that happens. Um, tomorrow is Dragon Warrior Wednesday, so I'm going to be continuing to play through Dragon Warrior 1. And Thursday, I don't have any streams planned. I'll be over on Ty Tuesday's stream at 5 Central? I think 5 Central. So that's upcoming stuff. And then nothing. Yeah, nothing. I don't think anything Friday or Saturday. We'll see if Friday might have a Slay the Spire stream. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you all for joining. Dragon Quest Wednesday. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Have a good night, everybody.